Welcome to the Emporia Public Schools podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Allison Anderson Harder, Superintendent. This podcast is our way to provide students, staff, parents, and community members easy access to information on a variety of topics. Once you've listened to an episode, we encourage you to use the electronic link to provide feedback or ideas about the episode to which you just listened to, or to share ideas for future episodes. Today, I'm visiting with Mrs. Sarah Henning, District Support Liaison. Welcome, Sarah.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here. So tell us a little bit about yourself and your journey to Emporia Public Schools.
Of course. Well, I obtained my master's in social work in 2006, and I've worked in a variety of areas in child welfare, all leading up to the position that I currently have.
So you have some experience with DCF, and you also worked in Topeka Public Schools. So talk a little bit about that experience, because they're, similar, but then also different.
Yeah, I actually started my journey at DCF in 2005, where I was a CPS investigator, Child Protective Service investigator. During that time, it was my job to investigate any families that were struggling with abuse or neglect allegations. And then I transitioned into Topeka Public Schools, where I worked for 7 years as a school counselor / social worker. And it looks a little different for the school counseling up there in that position because it was a dual. So a lot of what I did was attendance work and home visits and anything to increase the students' academic success.
So a few years ago, we were very lucky that Kansas was one of the states that was chosen for the governors. It was a national grant. I can't remember the name of it right now. Governors, if you remember, just pop in there, Sarah. But we had the opportunity not only for Kansas to be chosen, but Emporia was chosen out of all of Kansas because we had the right mix of our community, the size of community, the needs, the strengths of our community, but then also we had really a good system going as far as our liaisons and so how we were using our resources. But as we worked through that, they also wanted to help us. How could we increase and be a pilot for other school districts, not only in Kansas, but then across the nation? So talk a little bit about that, because that's how you came into this position.
Yeah, this grant started before I came on board with a partnership between DCF and yourself, Dr. Harder, and just how can we create collaboration between the current agencies and a way to help our families decrease any kind of barrier for student success. So during that time, I was working in Topeka 501. However, my kids attend USD 253, and I was so excited when that posting came up so I could be closer to my children and be a part of this USD 253 family. Once it was posted, I went and spoke with several people, and it really sounded like a mix between my work at DCF prior and the work that I was doing at the school system. In addition to, we also have a very strong relationship with the court system and community corrections. So I try to find a good balance between the three of them and help the liaison between the three entities. And families have really embraced this, and I do many home visits and always am so welcomed, and parents and students and all of our entities are just excited to help increase our communication to best help families.
Well, in DCF, this was, I think, part of the move too, also to help DCF become more of a supporter. So when families would see DCF, it was more of that support and the resources in their homes, not feeling like somebody was going to come and take their children. So how do we really collaborate better? So that just helped. That would help bridge all of that.
Yeah, absolutely. So DCF definitely has a particular role within the community. And although this grant is funded through that, my role is to merely help walk alongside families and provide those supports, whether it is to decrease the barriers to coming to school or resources within the community to help pay bills, identify clothing or food resources. honestly, just anything that a family could be struggling with. I may not know the answer, but I will definitely find a resource to help that family.
Awesome. So chronic absenteeism is one of the things that we talk about, and wanting to get students to have that regular attendance so they can be successful and feel welcome in school. What are some of those barriers, and then what are some of those resources that you use? And as you're talking, I'm going to find the name of that governor. This is really driving me crazy right now.
No, that is okay. So there is a difference between chronic absenteeism and truancy. So when we're sharing this, chronic absenteeism is when a student misses more than 10% in a school year. So at this point, we would just be calculating that first 9 weeks. And then truancy is when students have unexcused absences, and that for the state of Kansas, that is in legislation, and it's 3 days unexcused in a row, 5 days in a semester, or 7 unexcused absences within a year. So for our older students in middle school and high school, we actually count the blocks. However, we do take into account and add those blocks up so that it equals those thresholds that we have to meet. Chronic absenteeism, like I was talking about, is the 10% or more. So honestly, that equals about 1 day a month missed. And when we really look at the correlation between chronic absenteeism and our students' success in school, it has been proven to have a high correlation. If students are are at the 10% threshold, third grade and younger, it often leads to difficulty in reading and building those basic foundational skills that could follow them in middle and high school. So that is really the reason, if I ever come to your door or you get a letter in the mail, that we really stress the importance of school. At the end of the day, we all want what's best for our students, our children, and the children of the community. So if we can eliminate any of those barriers, making sure that they're at school and on time. Now, that doesn't mean that if a student is sick, that we want them coming to school. We want you to follow up with your doctor or whatever care you choose. However, it is important that we work together and have that communication to support each other.
Well, and there's so much growth that children make, preschool, kindergarten, first grade. I mean, those are monumental grade levels, especially kindergarten and first grade. And so just like you said, every day that's missed, it's just, it can create a big gap, or as students are attending every day, they can really be very successful.
Yes. And not to say that these times, if they do miss, that we will not assist and help your student or the children in the community reach those milestones. It's just something to be aware of and to think about when, we have a student that is missing multiple days often. So it's just very important. But I agree that those fundamental skills starting out in preschool is fabulous. And our Jones Developmental Center, I cannot speak higher of them. They are doing amazing work. Their teachers are certified teachers. They are out there. They're putting in this wonderful work. I'm just so impressed with them constantly. So.
Awesome. In the meantime, I think I think it's National Governors Association. That was earth-shattering right there. So, we don't want to use a common sense approach, right?
Right,
So,
absolutely.
What would you say would be your goal with students support liaison?
Honestly, my goal is just helping walk alongside a family, and that can look so different for every single one. Some families just need me to help advocate between themselves and teachers or administration. Some are possibly involved in the court system, so having somebody be their advocate with them in that arena. And unfortunately, some of our families do have instances where DCF is contacted, so I can also help communication there, because that anytime a family is being investigated is very stressful, whether the allegations are substantiated or not. So if I do get a referral, I have families that self-refer to me, like, hey, I'm struggling with paying rent this month. What avenues do you have? Or, I ran out of food. So I do get a lot of self-referrals, but if I do get one from the school, it just kind of depends. I always go and meet with the family, and then it's decided together as a team in collaboration to determine, would they benefit from some short-term case management with me? Do I just need to find resources? Every family's situation is so different, and that's honestly the best part of my job, because I get to see families strive and have wonderful outcomes from sometimes just not knowing all the resources in town. So
Yeah, and we are very resource rich in Emporia. We're very lucky.
yes, I agree.
So before this position came along, we were actually working on a multidisciplinary team that you've taken over. And so actually that originated with Mark Goodman, who's our county attorney. He had approached me and he said, we used to have this system in place. And he knew that I knew the history and I was involved in that. And so like, how do we get this going again? But it was much more of that partnership with parents and the justice system and DCF and Crosswinds, anybody that can support the family. So talk a little bit. Luckily, we don't use it that often, but it is there to really be, wrap around the family. So you might talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so our MDT, our multidisciplinary team, meets once a month. Those referrals come from usually a school employee. I have had one family say, I wished we could all get together. And I was like, hey, I got this great thing called MDT. And I had actually participated with myself when it was through the court system when I was at DCF. So I knew a little bit of the history. Some of the pieces that look a little bit different at the school is we just really tie it into how we can help increase that academic success and eliminate any of those barriers. So we have an average about 12 other agencies that come and meet during MDT, and the family signs a release so that we can all get together and talk. And during that process, we just kind of talk about what has worked in the past for the family and what we could do as a community to wrap around them, leading with love and identifying those supports for each individual student in the home and the family members, and sometimes it's even extended family members because parents and children are living with grandparents or extended relatives. So however we can work with anybody in the home to just increase their daily success in life.
Thank you. So talking about resources in the community, we also have resources within our district. So talk about what you work within community relations and other resources in the district.
Oh my gosh. So I am in love with this district and some of the resources that we have. I want to give a big shout out to Heather Wagner. She does so much for our students. And then Patricia Staines-Reyes, she's our migrant liaison. And both of these women provide supports to help any additional needs that they might find. Like Heather works with our McKinney-Vento students, and Patricia works with our families that do the migrant work. Also, some of our connections that I don't want to miss is our special education, our co-op, that is been so helpful, and everybody that I work with there, because they are able to identify and collaborate and create an individual education plan for our students that may have some struggles that we talked about earlier within reading or math or behaviors or whatever that student may look like. And it can also go the other way where they're excelling and can be gifted.
There's a lot of
I know,
support.
I was just thinking in the district, but honestly, I can think about our supports. All our teachers are so supportive. Even our paras, and I don't want to say even, but our paras also provide a lot of that support for our families when they need services. And
we don't know who the student's going to talk to or
Right.
the parent, and so that might be a teacher's aide at dismissal. It might be a custodian who happens to be available.
Yes.
So really, all of our staff members they have their ears open and they help steer them in the right way. And if they don't know, they'll talk to the principal or student
Right.
support specialists or counselors. So our staff members do a great job of connecting with one another.
And our transportation department, you also talked about
absolutely.
that. Oh my gosh, they are just doing everything they can to keep these students on the buses, get their routes together, and get them to school and on time. I'm constantly impressed of how they do that, because I think that would be a really hard job.
Oh, they do a great job. I think we've covered a lot of questions that we had talked about. So is there anything else that you would like to share about either your position or how people might want to, how if they wanted to be involved, what that might look like, or how they might refer a student or a family in case they need some assistance?
Yeah, I really want anybody out there listening to know that it takes a village. It takes collaboration, communication, and no one should have to feel like they are alone, especially when facing some of these obstacles that may be in front of them. So if you just need that little bit of assistance, you can call me. My number is 620-412-8216. You can also text me. I do not respond after 5 o'clock most days, however, and then email me too. So honestly, that just looks like however you feel like is your best way of communication. I'm always willing, and sometimes I may not have, again, all the solutions, but I am willing to dig and try to find anything to help a family.
Absolutely. And really just going to the website and going to community relations or,
Yes.
we can do a search
Yeah.
on for staff search. So Sarah Henning.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, thank you for being here today, Sarah. So
Yes.
anything else that you'd like to add or just
No,
information?
I just really enjoyed working in Emporia,
Yeah,
and
we're
I'm
so glad
so
you're here.
excited to be back here and supporting our families.
Well, and we're very thankful to DCF because
Yes.
we are, they renewed our grant. And so there was no matching to that grant, which was amazing. When they first, had talked to me about it, I'm like, oh, there's got to be a catch. There's got to be some kind of match. There's got to be, and it wasn't. And then they
Yeah.
renewed it. And so they've been great to work with, and they really want to further the cause. And you presented at those annual conferences, too, to
Yes.
help promote what we're doing in Emporia that other districts can do and then other states as well.
Yeah.
Before we close, you want to say anything about that? About your presentations, nope, Sarah does not want to say anything about that.
I don't know what you want.
I put her on the spot. So, but it's been an opportunity to really highlight what we've been doing. And so I think about Kansas League, Kansas Children's
Service League.
Yes, thank you. So they've been actively involved. And
Yeah.
so just getting more of that exposure out there.
Yes. So I have been able to present at the governor's conference, and am on a state board for the state of Kansas to help create this position and or just increase our collaborations with other agencies throughout the state. But I also forgot to talk about Care Portal, and I really wanted to also talk about them.
Absolutely.
So Care Portal is a collaboration between all the churches and sometimes individuals or businesses that currently only DCF and myself are able to make referrals to. But if a family is in need, let's say of something that we can't provide within our district, Care Portal has allowed me to be a part of that. And so if a family is needing like bedding or just something that they don't have access to, DCF made sure that I had access to request those items through Care Portal. And then individuals have stepped up and helped our families. And it's amazing. I can't
That's
say
awesome.
more about that. So
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, and we would not have had our DCF grant renewed if you weren't making progress and helping us make progress as a district. So thank you to you for all your hard work and working with our community resources and our district resources. That has been really, really important.
Well, there's many people behind me. I'm just one, but what I preach is it takes a village, and I think that we have that here.
Awesome. Well, we're glad you're here, Sarah. Well, thank you for interviewing. We will end on our Emporia Public Schools mission statement. We engage, we empower, we inspire. Thank you for listening, and watch for upcoming episodes.